On Industry Conversation today, my guest is the Director General, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, Dr. Olalekan Fadolapo. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
First, I would like to congratulate you on your Lifetime Achievement Award at the recently held Marketing Edge Awards.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let's get straight into business. Can you give an overview or an implication of the recent judgments by the two federal high courts, one in Lagos and one in Lokoja, in respect to the out-of-home advertising regulation?
Thank you very much. First, the two organizations, one in Lagos, Masilia, and one in Lokoja, Godek, took ARCON to court for requesting for pre-exposure submission of material and approval before exposure out of home. So, in the case of Masilia, which happened in Lagos, a judgment was delivered on November 7 by the Federal High Court in Lagos, presided over by Honorable Justice Aluko. In the one for Lokoja, on November 15, November 12, the Federal High Court in Lokoja Division also delivered a judgment on the Godek versus Attorney General and ARCON on the same matter. The two of them are contesting the power of ARCON to regulate advertising, outdoor advertising in Nigeria, or let me say advertisement on outdoor media. Now, the judgment in Lagos stated that the power to regulate outdoor advertising and audio, as stated in the 4th schedule of the Constitution, is omnibus. And because of that, the outdoor advertising regulation, either advertisement and everything within outdoor, is vested in local government. So that part of ARCON law that regulates outdoor advertising was declared in conflict with the Constitution. However, in the case of the judgment from the Federal High Court in Lokoja, the Lokoja judgment took cognizance of the 2nd schedule of the Constitution. The 2nd schedule of the Constitution, under the exclusive list, listed some items, I think item 49, 60 something thereabout. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I will say this to the best of my knowledge, even though I have a master's in legal studies, but I will try to explain to the best of my ability. Now, the 2nd schedule of the Constitution, which lists out things that are exclusive for the federal government, stated that profession or professional practices are exclusively left for the federal government to be legislated upon by the National Assembly. Number 2, trade and commerce are also on the exclusive list in the 2nd schedule. Now, in that same 2nd schedule, now say everything incidental to this are also exclusive for federal government. So, in 1989, advertising became a profession with the decree of 1989. In 1992, the federal government established the ASP by an amendment to the ARCON Act, which created a body that will take responsibility for regulating exposure of adverts to ensure that all adverts are decent, legal, truthful, and socially responsible, understanding the nature and volatility of our environment. Now, if you now bring that into the judgment, so the judgment in Lokoja established the fact that advertising is trade and commerce. Advertising is also practice, so it's within the exclusive list which the federal government through the National Assembly can legislate upon. That's number one. Number two is that the judgment in Lokoja also said or noted that even in the constitution, there are overlapping functions. We don't call it conflicts, but overlapping. Now, where the fourth schedule states outdoor advertising and hoarding, the second schedule spoke to the practice, trade, and commerce. So the two can coexist. Now, the practice or in practice, advertising is regulated along two lines: the message and the medium. Now, if you look at the message from time immemorial, and there has never been any conflict in the regulation along these two lines. If you look at traditional media, for example, we have broadcast, we have print, and we have out of home. Now, in terms of structure or medium, broadcast is regulated by National Broadcasting Commission, print by the Nigerian Press Council, and out of home, in line with fourth schedule, is supposed to be the local government. So we don't delve into structure or medium regulation. Our mandate is very clear to say regulate advertising as a profession and advertisement as an art of trade. Now, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but let me just explain to the best of my knowledge. In school, I was studying the elementary law and all those things. We were taught that statutes are interpreted in different ways. So we have the principles of interpretation of statutes. Now, the first principle of interpretation of statutes is that literal meaning. Where a law is written, it is expected to be interpreted in its literal term. But where you find the literal terms not being able to deliver, then you move to the contextual rule, which means you read that message or that law or that part in context. Where that is also not giving the right fair justice and judgment, then you can move to the ejusdem generis, the principle of generalization. Now, I reiterate that I'm not a lawyer, I'm not learned, but I can say to the best of my ability. Now, that part of fourth schedule that was talking about outdoor advertising and hoarding, punctuation has a lot of role to play in interpretation of word. Now, if that part had said outdoor advertising, comma, and hoarding, it is different from outdoor advertising and hoarding. Meaning that you can interpret outdoor advertising in its own words, and that is why they put comma. Outdoor advertising, comma, and hoarding. So in the constitution, it is outdoor advertising and hoarding. Now, if you look at the principle of ejusdem generis, the generalization interpretation, it says where a general word is used and a specific word is used, the general word will be interpreted to mean the same thing as the specific word that is used. Now, if outdoor advertising is ambiguous and omnibus, then it can be interpreted along the line of hoarding. What does hoarding mean? Hoarding simply means those space, those billboard, those structure with which you expose advertisement. And in Nigeria, from time immemorial up to this minute, local government has never approved material because it's a trade, it's a profession. It comes with a lot of competence. What you get from a local government is outdoor permits. So the judgment in Lagos gives a different meaning to that outdoor advertising. And by implication, it is not only advertisement that is going to come under regulation. Now, if you are going to practice outdoor advertising, it means that the judgment has given outdoor advertising the omnibus status to say everything relating to outdoor advertising. The practice of outdoor advertising is also different from the business of outdoor advertising, which is also trade and commerce. So the judgment has taken a different singular definition of outdoor advertising in an omnibus manner that it will definitely bring so many things. Meaning that if you are now going to practice, and again, it will bring it in conflict with the second schedule, which says legislative exclusive list, trade, commerce, profession. So there's a lot that is in it, and which is what the judgment in Lokoja spelled out. To say there's no conflict, it is an overlapping function. The two of them have coexisted before now, and they will continue to coexist. What ARCON is doing is advertisement on outdoor advertising, which is what they are regulating. And so there is nothing in conflict. Go and ensure that you submit your advert and ensure you get permits. So, and the judgment came 5 days after each other. Now, the principle of judicial precedent is where two coordinating jurisdiction courts has pronounced judgment, and those judgments are diverse opinion. The later in judgment will come into force. So the later judgment is one from Lokoja. Notwithstanding, ARCON has appealed the Marsilia versus ARCON case, which has gone to the Court of Appeal, and we have also filed for stay of execution just to ensure that there's no destability in the industry.
And what are the thoughts and position of ARCON when it comes to these two judgments?
Yes, our thoughts are that, number one, this is capable of throwing the industry into major crisis. And this is also capable of stopping or destabilizing the flow that we currently have in the industry. You can imagine that if you are now going to get an approval for a material, which is a national campaign, you need to go to 774 local governments to get approval. Now, you want to do an out-of-home campaign in Lagos. You can imagine how many local governments. Then LCDA, if I'm right, 50-something. Now, you need to approach each as long as your body is going to be there. So we believe strongly that this is going to cause a major distortion and disruption in the flow. So for this, we have made a ministerial briefing. I've had a ministerial briefing on this, and we are putting together the judgment, including our own summary and position on this. Because again, you need to understand that advertising is critical to trade and commerce. And if there's a small or slight disruption, it could have a multiplier effect on the economy.
Sectoral groups and practitioners, they've responded publicly to these judgments. And what are your views on their reactions?
The two sectoral groups, precisely, I don't know how many have responded, but I've read only about 2. And for some practitioners too. But let me speak to the 2 that have responded. The first one is ADNON. You know, for me, naturally, I've made up my mind not long ago not to join issue with Osame, the president of ADNON. But sometimes you need to put things in proper perspective. If you ask me, I will say Advan needs prayer. Advan needs prayer. Let me put it like this. I've stayed fairly long in this industry. If I am right, if I'm not 30, I'll be itching to 30 years, 3 decades of advertising practice. I was in this industry when Emmanuel Ekuno took over from Sir Steve Omojafo as the chairman of HSG. I was in this industry when very distinguished president of Advan were leading the HSG. I was in this industry where everybody sit down to discuss, engage, and make proposal for the growth of this industry. But since Osamede took over Advan, it has made me, my personal opinion, to make it look like it's an undertaker. Undertaker to the extent that if something is not done urgently, Advan may continue to have a free fall. What do I mean? Look at this case, for example, the question you asked me. Advan is supposed to be the Association of Advertisers of Nigeria, an association that is expected to protect, promote, and ensure stability in the advertisers' leg of this ecosystem. Now, by this judgment, one of the implications is that if one person, one advertiser, is to do a national campaign, that advertiser will have to submit his material to 774 local government. Even now, we have some government agencies that have or perform oversight function on advertisement, which some of them are calling a double regulation. They are insisting that we should intervene. Now imagine one marketing director or one brand manager now going to 774 local government, excluding the one that have SCDA. Now, if Advan leadership are sincere, a situation like that, one calls for calm. A situation like that calls for you to reach out to the regulator. This is a judgment. It's going to impact our members' business negatively. It's going to cause a major disruption. We don't want this, so what do we do? But you will see that even the person or the Marsilia were not the one in the media. It was Advan that was issuing press release, jumping from one media house, celebrating the judgment. But you know why? Osamede and his organization has not done. I start to be corrected, and I don't mind them bringing this to the public. I'm not sure they have done a business worth 2 million. Advertising business worth 2 million in the last 4 years, meaning that 500,000 per year. If you don't have somebody like me, how will you know the value I bring to the table? Do you think a marketing director who look at the judgment and imagine the headache it will bring and the disruption will be the one jumping from one media and celebrating that judgment? No. So he has no dog in the fight. Rather, he has seen it from Olalekan and ARCON angle. And anything is a win. Number 2, Advan has always had fantastic, intelligent, distinguished people as president. I talk of late Ekwinife. I talk of Kofi Amagashi. I talk of ID Enang. I talk of Kola Oyemi. Even while they were chairman, I was there. Do you know that as of today, Osamide has led Advan out of HASG, which is the biggest advertising, the highest advertising industry stakeholders platform for discussion of advertising industry. This time that we are talking, almost all the groups have done their marketing award. Nigerian Institute of Marketing, Marketing Edge, Brandcom, and all other people. If you have a detailed history of this industry very well, they will tell you that by now, it's either Advan has done their marketing award or they are about to do. But nobody is talking about that now. Even check the participation of members in their affair. So, looking at those things and coming from that background, I would rather concentrate my energy on people who have stake in the industry. Do you know how many marketing directors have reached out to me? Even offered to give us legal support if we need. Those are the people that have business, that have stake in the business. Do you know how many brand managers have reached out to me to even say they want to come and visit us? But I've been out because of so many other things. I've not been really settled down in the office. These are people that have stake in the business. So if he's not really doing advertising business and he does not really have a stake, a dog in the fight, he has not done any critical major campaign. If you ask, it will be when I was brand manager in Guinness. How long do I have to stay to that? I won't spend time on Osamide. My question to the industry, or to even Osamide himself, is what is the state that he met Advan when he became president? So many projects have been done, embarked upon in this industry. The ABC is one of the initiatives. The HSG policy committee, what was the state? How did he meet Advan? How many active members did he meet in Advan? And what is the current state that Advan is for leading the association for almost 3 years, going into 4 years now? Look, there are so many things that bother. It's not about shouting. It's not about having or attending a major program and calling journalists out while the program is going on and be ranting or venting. No. I am not sure Mr. Ni Babatunde, who was the first president of Advan, will be very happy looking back at what they turned Advan to. I'm not sure the past presidents of Advan, who toiled so much, placing Advan on a high pedestal in the industry, will be happy with what they have turned Advan into. We had the National Advertising Conference, which was the biggest major event in the Nigerian advertising industry. Advan was not there and we did not miss them. We had the Advertising Industry Colloquium, which is the biggest town and gown meeting in the Nigerian advertising industry. Advan was not there. Nobody missed them. Bit by bit, they are slipping into oblivion. As of today, ask a question: how many CMO will Osamide pick phone and call and say there's an issue? Oyster has just issued, can we quickly have a virtual meeting? How many of them attend their physical meeting and see the profile of the people that are there? You were in National Advertising Conference, or ask people that were there, check the profile, how many CMOs were there. We have over 50 speakers. We have had events back to back. Removing Advan from HASG was the biggest thing anybody will ever imagine. On that table of conversation, you want to do a one-man mopo in an advertising industry that thrives on engagement. It doesn't work. So if that is the mindset of the leadership of Advan, you can now see why most brands have pledged their loyalty outside ARCON since they have been making their statement. Don't do this, don't do this. Which brand have listened to them? When the foreign model policy came, for an association that's supposed to thrive on engagement and advocacy, the primary focus will be, so DG, let us all sit down. How do we fashion this? They ran to the newspaper, our members will not obey you. And their members not obeying. They ran to the newspaper, we disassociate our friend from ISOP. Is ISOP not working? So you will see the quality of decisions and the mindset. It's not about just eating the newspaper and talking. And that's why I've said I won't spend much time. I would rather acknowledge the people that have called, the marketing directors that have called, to even offer services, support services, because this is going to impact their business. I reiterate, Osamide does not have a thriving advertising business he's doing. So it is easier for him to be speaking from the double side of his mouth. We need to tear down. What is it tear down? If he has a major account business budget that he's doing, do you think if he's working for a one multinational with one head office somewhere, they will allow him to be doing all those things? I really don't want to put energy on issues around Osamide. I've said this again and again. His ranting has not taken the industry back. I have had sessions with different people, even group of people that have said that let us work together, and we are working with them. Today, as I speak to you, they are wrapping up reports on the Nigerian data bank, image data bank project. ARCON is not part of it, and ARCON cannot stop it. The worst part of it is that decision will come. HAG, which is the platform we will present to them, we will engage them, we will come with a conclusion, another member will obey it. So when I come back to say it's an undertaker, I just look at it to say, where are they coming from? Is this the ARCON he met? Is this the active ARCON that was when Kola Yemi was there, when IDNang was there, when the other president were toiling, engaging, speaking to the industry? No. He should go ahead with his own. I don't. But for all, we had a meeting, and this was discussed. Our remit is very clear: to regulate advertising, which comes in as a profession. We practice. Advertisement, which is the trade and commerce leg, and marketing communication, which is the combination within which we work in the IMC industry. We are never empowered to regulate structure or order. We have never, and we are not going to delve into it. So this we have had with them, and this we have also communicated to them in writing. I read the 2 interviews of their president, but I'll rather leave it at that.
What's the current situation of regulation as it relates to out-of-home advertising?
Okay. Now, you know there's status quo ante and there's status quo antebellum. Now, status quo ante means the position you had before the change. Status quo antebellum means the original position. Now, if you look at either the status quo ante principle and the status quo antebellum's principle, which means that in case the GODEC judgment was appealed or is appealed, why we have also appealed this in, what the law will apply is status quo or status quo ante. Either way, it still reinstates ARCON in its original position of vetting. So as of today, the law is still that you must submit and vet all your out-of-home material before exposure. Anything outside this is not only illegal, it is also an act that violates the advertising law.
Are you aware that Oyo State Signage and Advertising Agency gave a directive that all practitioners to submit their adverts on gaming and lottery for vetting before exposure in Oyo State?
Yes, I am aware.
What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, one, let me speak from the two judgments, both the Lagos High Court and the Lokoja High Court. The two judgments establish that the state signage agency is alien to that responsibility. It's not known to the law. That's number one. Number two, it is not within the purview of an agency that is alien to a particular law to now arrogate power to itself. You cannot derive your power from submission or whatever it is. So we have written to Oyo State Signage Agency, and we expect that this will be corrected because this is capable of causing a major dislocation. We are trying to off one crisis and stop. The other one is, but you should expect that it will always be. Now, if this is not properly checked, it may spiral a major crisis where you now see, and trust me, we are a regulator. It's not going to affect us. If 20 regulators decide that they want to start oversight function on advertising, it is the brand managers and the agency that will suffer it. And that is where I expected that Advan will take a leave and say, okay, how do we navigate this? Because if we have to go out and say, Oyo State, you are overreaching your boundary, it is in the interest of the advertising ecosystem, majorly the advertisers, because they own that communication. It is their own thing. So, but in this case, we've reached out to Oyo State Signage Agency. We have told them to reverse that directive, and we are hoping that sense will prevail so that we don't need to escalate.
There seems to be a lot in the advertising industry, but what would be ARCON's message to the Nigerian advertising industry?
Well, a lot is happening out there. A lot, the digital economy. This I've said at different fora. We've transited from e-commerce to a full-blown digital economy. Now, this digital economy is experiencing technology disruption every minute, every hour, every time. Now, if as a regulator, we are not a step ahead of the regulated, it's going to be a major crisis. Go and check the digital media space. Majority of the vendors don't have a physical address. Now, how much or the amount people are losing because of fake advertisement, because of false advertisement, because of unsubstantiated claim is huge. Each market has its own dynamic. In Nigeria, the law is to protect the consumer and to ensure that as far as advertising is concerned, which is the driver and economic enabler, everything must come within that regulatory framework. I know a lot is happening, trust me. In terms of the business of advertising, it's huge. Even the traditional media are currently experiencing disruption. Technology is playing a major role. I want to appeal to everybody. We can't do this alone. Everybody is a gatekeeper in advertising and advertising management. If you see anything, we have our numbers on all our communication material. Reach out to us. In as much as we have a 24/7 monitoring team, yet we still need information from different places to stem down this awesome advertising, fake advertising practices. We need the support of Nigerians, and I always call upon them to say, we are in this together. Please help us so that we can clean the system and make advertising a major enabler as it's supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having this conversation with us.
Thank you very much.
It's been very impactful.
Thank you very much.
That's the much we can take today. My name is Bababumi Agbibi.